podcast, the Jett Steadman.
Feels official being here right now.
It is official.
It's real.
All right, Jett, just to set it up, you are a current senior counselor at the Brookhill Summer Camp.
Yes.
This is your second all
sir.
summer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Second year in the Morgans.
And where are you from? Where do you go to college? Where are you from?
I am originally from Natchitoches, Louisiana, and now I go to college in South Louisiana at a school called University of Louisiana, Lafayette. Go Cajuns.
Go Cajuns. Are they the Raging Cajuns?
They're the Raging Cajuns.
Do y'all
yes,
rage? Do y'all rage there?
Not
do you
often,
rage?
but they do. The Cajuns often do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just a Cajun thing. They love raging.
Are they D1?
D1.
Have they done any big upsets? You got any?
We pretty much run the Sun Belt.
Okay.
We run the Sun Belt. We destroy UCA every year.
Oh.
Every year. A-State as
shots
well.
Fired
destroy
at
A-State every year as well. So if you go to A-State.
Oh, shots fired at the Wolves.
The Red Wolves.
Oh, man. We got some alumni.
Here,
we got a lot of Red Wolf alumni and current Red Wolves. Okay.
But, yeah, we're really good. We
got a lot of pride there. I like it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would like to move up a conference or something. But, like, I mean, we played Texas round one, or like our first game of our football season last year, and we like dropped it like by 10 points. They just barely beat us, and I mean
that was your chance.
Everybody just hates Texas.
Okay,
so
where was it at Lafayette or
it was at Texas?
Oh, okay,
and
because if it was at Lafayette, y'all would have torn the goalpost down. Or
yeah, it would have been. We would have won. It would have been ridiculous.
And you get fined or whatever.
Right. No, I remember we our big rivalry is like App State.
Okay.
And, we literally just beat everybody. We won football this year. We won basketball.
Okay.
We won baseball as well, track field. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what they're going to do. We're a problem.
Okay.
We're a big problem.
Y'all are a problem.
We're running it for sure.
Y'all are a problem. The Raging Cajuns. Watch out.
You got to watch out.
Y'all are going to be in the SEC before you know
Straight up. Straight up.
They're going to drop LSU.
Hey, not an LSU, ex-LSU fan right here.
Uh-oh.
I've been turned. They don't really get along too well, actually.
Okay. Lafayette
people talk about how the LSU people are just it doesn't work out well. It just does not work out well is what I will say.
All right, let's jump into this thing, Jett. Let's Jett. So we're going to start with a game before we jump into anything else.
Sounds good.
So the game we're going to play is a Brookhill game, and the reason is because we're Brookhill. It's a Brookhill podcast, so it makes a lot of sense.
Of course.
So my man Cole, he is going to put up, first off, I want you to be intimidated by the leaderboard. If we would put up where it's at. Right here, Callan Griffin, he just set that, 25. Griffin just set that.
Man, they got a two-way tie for third.
Yeah, I mean, look at
20. That's rough.
Jason's at 20. Now,
as long as I beat Jensen.
Okay. Yeah, you got to beat Jensen.
Got to.
Okay. All right, here we go. Let's take that off. You're going to have 30 seconds.
All right.
The game is this. You're going to have 3 categories to choose from. You got camp songs, camp activities, and bunkhouses.
Okay.
And you can pull from all 3 at the same time.
Come on.
You should be able to you should be at the top, Jett.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
If you're a Raging Cajun, if you're this guy that you say you are,
I got it.
Come on, D1.
I got it. I think Count Smith, that's heavy competition, but I got it.
That is. Okay. Are you ready? As soon as you see the clock, you may start now.
Camp songs? Sing them?
No. Okay, reset. Okay.
Pull from the 3 categories. Do I just
name them?
Name every.
This is my bad. Yeah,
that's easy.
Yeah, it's just boom, 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 boom. Okay, all right.
Yes, that's on me.
All right, we're gonna
take 2.
We're gonna redo that. Sorry, D1 was had a little trouble.
Forget what.
This is the first time I've had to repeat myself on this. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
This game starts now.
All right, Morgans, Walkers, Mustangs, Hagneys, Buckskins, Appaloosas, Broncos, Mavericks, Palominos, Pintos, Blazers, Phillies, archery, riflery, go-karts, field sports, stunts and tumbling, crafts, the frog song, the beaver song, Galicinos, Percherons.
Unofficially, 21. I haven't. Oh, you got him at 21. Okay. Unofficially, you're going to be tied with Jensen.
Oh, that's so
we'll go back and watch it.
We
got to
get the instant replay. I think I might have got that last one in.
We would get the IR on it. We can't get it in here.
Check the cams. Check the cams. I think I got that last one off. I think I did.
All right, Cole, you always like to press the time bet. Yeah. We'll do a little IR on that. We can't throw the red flag right now, but we'll catch it after the game.
Come on.
We can adjust that.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that one.
All right, so Jett, how'd you get to camp? Like, what brought the Steadmans? Because obviously you are the baby Steadman.
I am.
You have Sis Steadman.
Yep.
You know,
Big Bro Steadman.
Big Bro Steadman.
Of course. And I am the youngest. Well, it must have been about, a long time now that I'm thinking about it. So my oldest sister, her and her group of friends were like, it was either her group of friends or like maybe a little bit of a group like a year older than her was like one of the first groups of people from Natchitoches to start coming back to camp because there are some older people like
Jared Kilpatrick was a longtime counselor.
Right. And I think they kind of brought it back and they started coming to camp. And I mean, I just heard a ton of stories about it from my sister. A lot of her friends really enjoyed it. And then me and my brother started coming the same year, even though he's like 13 months older than me. He missed his first year. I didn't miss my first year. I would never let that happen. But I got to come to camp coming out of third grade. And I was in the Morgan bunkhouse with the T. Finch Sig.
No way.
Yep.
You were in with Tyler.
I was in there my first year.
Your first counselor's still here.
We came full circle.
Come on.
Full circle. Yeah, it's huge. And I mean, I absolutely fell in love with it. I remember that I was going to Brookhill, and then I would go to another camp with my youth group at the time. And I just knew that there was something really different about it. I knew that I couldn't really put my finger on it because I knew that I was like maybe a little too young to really understand what the difference was. But then whenever I got the opportunity to become a JC and stuff, it really is just the fact that the counselors here really not only connect with the campers more, but they want to connect with the campers and they want to be here. And that just makes a world's difference. It makes you feel like you have like a home here. And it's not like you're just going somewhere to be somewhere for a certain amount of time. It's like you want to be here and you want to stay as long as you can. So, I mean, yeah, came as a camper in going into my fourth grade year, then came all the way till I was graduating. And I remember graduating in Appaloosa.
Okay.
In the Gideon Mets Appaloosas.
Gideon Mets, not Gig Mets.
That's a rare breed right there.
The Gideon Mets. I like it. Okay. Do you remember any of your other counselors, and do you remember who were kind of the legacy people, the people that were always there for you?
So, I mean, of course, I think the first year that I came, it was either Tyler's second or third year on staff, or second, something like that. So Ty was always around. There was that little gap, but he was still always around. I remember when I started to get into like 5th and 6th grade, I really enjoyed Gabe Metz. He was one of my favorite counselors, and I never even got to be in his bunkhouse, and I still was so just infatuated with his personality. I thought he was the coolest guy ever. And I just remember, I was in the Walkers with Stu.
Okay.
And I like that. I mean, I got some good ones.
That's legendary. Yeah, Tyler Stewart.
I was in that Keller Cox bunkhouse as well.
Oh.
And I do remember Keller Cox. I've never seen this before in another cabin, but he had like this like chest, like this real life table drawer chest thing in his cabin.
Okay.
And it was like at the foot of his bed, and it was next level. It was nice. He had like a little lamp on it. It was really official.
That's very killer.
But I was in that bunkhouse. I was in the Jansen Nash bunkhouse.
Jansen Nash Mustangs.
I was in the Ethan King,
No.
Buckskins. He was in the Buckskins.
Yeah.
We called him Ethan's Chicken.
Yeah, Ethan. Oh.
The only reason I'm saying King is because I was in Garrett King's bunkhouse.
You were in Garrett King's bunkhouse. Come on.
I was in the rare breeds. Very rare breeds. So I remember a lot of those guys that, I mean, even people my age or people that have been around camp as long as I am, some of them don't even really know those names. And I remember it didn't really matter. Like I would I would come to camp, and then I would get assigned my bunkhouse. First of all, I will say that me and my brother came every year together, and I never wanted to be in the same cabin as him because I wanted to see what it was like, my own personal experience hanging out with just another group of guys that I've never met before, and I really enjoyed that side of it. That I was like my own person in a way. Like I got to really have my own experience, and I remember that. I mean, there would be some times where I was like, I kind of wanted this bunkhouse or that bunkhouse, but like with Garrett King and with Ethan and with Jansen, those guys like who have kind of a shorter career in the bunkhouse, it didn't even matter. Like it was still just a great experience, and I still kept coming back. Like it just didn't matter.
Those were incredible guys. So Garrett King is incredible.
They were studs.
And Ethan too. I'm blanking on his last name. He's gonna be mad if he listens to this, but I see his face. I mean, these guys were unbelievable men. He was a Bucks guy with Stewart. Ethan was.
Yep. I've heard about all the Bucks stuff, and I just meant that it was people that I never knew at the time.
Yeah.
Like I had never heard of these guys, and I had heard about some of the other guys on the hill, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I had never heard of them. I still knew that they were going to be super, like, great role models. They were going to be entertaining. They were going to be trustworthy. They were going to were going to be men that I could talk to, and that was something that I could count on all the time. It was really refreshing for me, is what I found. So.
Did you always know you were going to be a counselor?
That's a really good question. I get that. I feel like I've been asked that a lot. I feel like a lot of people get asked that question. I feel like probably whenever I saw my sister become a JC, and that
Shelby, right?
Shelby. Yes.
Ah, see, I got that without you telling me.
You got it.
You can tell her.
Right. I will. I'll tell her to watch it.
DP got that.
Yep. And she was. I saw her being a JC, and I was still like, I was in, I guess, 5th grade or 6th grade, and she was a JC. She was a JC for 2 years.
Yep.
She was actually Levia's cabin. She was in Levia's cabin as her JC.
Come on.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's weird. And I remember I saw her doing it, and it was just like, it was like a piece of me was kind of on staff, and it was like I had this connection, and I just knew ever since then that like I was going to do what I had to do. And then I remember like my graduate years and my JCT years, I was really intentional with like seeing what the JCs do, like being at like a real junior counselor in training and just absorbing all I could from my senior counselors, and it was super important to me. So I remember I valued that, and then after my graduate year, I knew that I was going to JC. I just knew it, and signed up, and I got the 2 weeks that I had signed up for, and it was like a very, very hard work, and it didn't even matter how hard I was working because it was an unbelievable amount of fun, and it was somehow my brain couldn't process that being a counselor was better than being a camper, except for it was so rewarding, and it really shaped my personality, shaped who I am today. And I remember that after I worked those 2 weeks, and my second week, which was week 7 as a JC in 2019, I guess it was, I remember that I had kind of made some impact. Like I kind of had some buzz going around about my name. And of course my older brother was a second-year JC, so it kind of helped me. I was kind of, like fathered into that. He kind of brought me into that as well. And but I also remember that I wanted to make my own name. Like I didn't want to be my older
Dane's
brother's
brother.
Yeah, I didn't want to be Dane's brother. I wanted to make my own name, and I remember I was working hard. I was doing what I had to do, and I created a little buzz week 7, and I kind of noticed that a little bit. So my next year, whenever I applied to be a JC, I just applied for every single week there was, like all of them.
How many weeks did you get?
And then I ended up working 5.
Oh, come on. I love it.
It was, that was.
Man, you were planting a lot of seeds there, though. A lot of kids you're getting to know. So then that next summer,
and even
they
today,
already knew who you were.
Like, when I think about it, there's kids that are, there's campers that are graduating this summer that I remember 3-4 years ago, whenever they were 3-4 years younger. And it's just, it's unreal. It's really crazy. Like, I have there's some group of guys from week 2 or whatever week I was working. I just remember those guys, and it's just watching them grow. It's crazy. It's a really rewarding thing, and you really get to see them grow, and the fact that I got to see how much they valued my input and valued what I had to say and the way I treated them, and that really just let me hold myself accountable in a lot of ways. And that second year as a JC, and I worked 1, 2, and then I worked the last 3 weeks. And towards the end of the summer, it was the last 2 weeks of that summer, I was in some activities because my brother had went down as a counselor, and I got to kind of assume his role, and I got to teach some activities, and it turned everything around. It was crazy. It was the thing that I had been like longing for, and then I finally got a little taste of it, and I knew after that summer that I was locked in to be a senior counselor, at least to apply to be on all summer. So that's what I did. After that summer, I applied to be an AC, and I just an AC. And I remember that Jason Ross calls me, and he asked me if I thought that I could be in a cabin, and I remember thinking that I probably could not be in a cabin. But then, as soon as he was telling me that sort of thing, he was like, we have a cabin opening. We need someone who's going to step up. I feel like you could be that guy. I remember when he said those words, I was like, it was crazy to me. It was like an actual, one of the only times in my life that it was like an actual dream come true. Like, seriously. And I remember thinking immediately, my first thoughts were like, there's no way. I was trying to be an AC. This is going to be a way different role. And then I remembered thinking like immediately after that, like, if Jason is trusting me with this, I mean, I got to have what it takes, and I got to step up. So I agreed, and then I got to come into the Morgans, and I mean, ever since then, it's been great.
Come on. Well, you had done 8 or 9 weeks as a JC. I mean,
Right.
you'd done a lot. You'd been in a lot of cabins.
Yes.
You had watched a lot of senior counselors.
Right.
And obviously, as a camper, you'd been there 7. I mean, we're talking about 15 weeks.
Literally. I was thinking about that today.
I mean, you knew what Brookhill was.
Yeah.
I mean, no one had to tell you that. And then having the character and the ability. But I liked what you said. You said you couldn't believe that you liked being a counselor better than being a camper.
Right.
But the Bible says it's in giving that we receive.
It's
almost it's almost like the Bible knows what it's talking about, right?
Yeah, right.
You're
right.
And so here you are taking out trash. Here you are working hard,
Mm-hmm.
but you are helping someone else have a great time.
Yes.
And that changes your own life.
Very much so. Very much so. And it almost like just naturally ushers you into this role of leadership, or this role of just wanting more for yourself so that you can pour out even more. Like, I remember that when I would go back home, a great way that I would hold myself accountable is like, the more that I would do in the off season, whatever that is, I remember the more that I would do back home, the more that I would be able to like more knowledge I would have, the more wisdom, the more I'd be able to pour out whenever I came back to camp. And it was really important to me. So I just remember being able to serve in that way was huge, because I mean, it was hard work. It was not easy work.
Yep.
It was definitely not. And I mean, nothing can really prepare you for that.
Right.
You see it as a JCT, you see it as a camper, but you still really don't see like 75% of it. And it's game changing. And what I will say is I've had a few different jobs, like small jobs here and there that I've worked for like 6 to 8 months, something like that. And I mean, it's real. Like, I promise you, within 2 and 3 months of me working that job, I'm up there. It's real. Like, because of the things I learned as a JC, I know how to work, how to be successful in the workplace. I know how to play well with others. I know how to treat my authority figures in my jobs, like my boss, my manager. I know where to be intentional with that relationship and what lines not to cross. And it really changed the game, because I remember that I was being successful in these jobs, like serving and things like that, and like being a waiter, just working at a convenience store. And I mean, nothing special about me, but
you stood out.
I remember standing out, because I remember that I would, first of all, I'd be like, none of this is going to be harder than what I'm doing at Brookhill. And
you're indoors probably.
And second of all, I was like, I mean, I've worked on bigger staffs, and I've stood out. This is going to be, be cake. And it was really interesting to see that I had this like perpetual success in these different works and these different jobs. And
can you point to anything specific? Can you point to like, you know, you were naturally doing this and you looked over and you were kind of wondering maybe why they weren't naturally doing that? I mean,
Right.
was there anything specific that you could be like, you know, I don't know what it might be. You saw the need or whatever.
Right. Well, I remember, I just remember that I worked at this sushi bar, this Japanese restaurant.
Okay.
Right.
Did you make the sushi?
I did not actually. Fun fact: the Japanese people that worked there were actually Mandarin Chinese.
Okay.
Everyone worked there was Chinese, and they were working at a Japanese restaurant. And also, you have to be like super trained to make the sushi, and women can't make the sushi because their hands are too warm.
Interesting.
I know. I learned.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I learned that there.
Okay.
So, but
fun fact.
So yeah, the job was. I mean, it was like my first legitimate like job besides Brookhill, like back home.
Okay.
And I remember there was a group of like 5 or 6 people that worked there full time, and it was the sushi chef who was this Mandarin Chinese guy who spoke very little English,
but was probably an artist. I mean, the sushi guy,
very well trained.
Hibachi, Village Hibachi is ridiculous.
Yes, it's actual art form.
Yeah,
it's an actual art
Oh,
form.
there's no doubt.
And he knew very little English, and he was and I just remember like there was some setbacks. There was a lady who worked in the kitchen, and she was Mexican, and she spoke mostly Spanish.
Okay.
And there was a huge language barrier. Huge. My manager spoke very little English. Like the person making the schedules. And I was like, this is an obstacle to say the least. And I just remember that although I couldn't really communicate with them well, like in conversation, I remember it was tough. And I think I was either a sophomore or a junior in high school, so I did not know what I got myself into. But I do remember that I was very intentional with letting my actions speak louder because I was not able to conversate with them that well, right? So I just had to go the extra mile. I had to do what I can. Also, I was one of only 2 guys that worked there. I was the only male server, and the other guy was the sushi chef. So I remember I felt like I had to step up, and I remember the manager. Me and the manager got really close. She's this older Chinese lady, and she gave me like Chinese nicknames. I'm not really sure what they were, but she was like she loved me because I feel like I stepped up in that role. And
were you able to speak to her very well?
Man,
this is amazing. This is amazing.
It's real.
At your first job.
It's real. And
so you worked hard. You did this.
I worked there for I think 6 or 7 months. Okay. So I worked there for a while. I mean, not a crazy long time, but for that kind of job, it was a good amount of time. And I remember like towards the end, I was that guy. Like I was the one that
you were the go-to.
I was and also the fact that I was one of the only men that worked there, and I mean I was a server, but I was doing a lot. I would host my own tables, then I'd bring them to their table, like do the busboy thing, and then I'd come take their order and then go put the order in and then serve them and then clean the table off at the end. It was a lot. But I literally remember that the fact that I kind of knew how to work with coworkers and just what works in the work environment, which I learned from being a JC. I remember that it just greatly benefited me, and it was easy. It was really easy, even though it was very challenging and there were many obstacles. It was never difficult for me. It was not hard for me to
think about those experiences, Jett, and what that did for you. If we can get more guys just working jobs at a young age,
right?
What that will build in them, and I think here at Brookhill, because we specifically do a lot of I think what's unique about here is we didn't have to train you to what Brookhill is. We got to focus on leadership and work ethic, right? Because we didn't have to say, okay, hey, on Mondays we're going to do this, on Tuesdays we're going to. You already knew all that. That would be silly for us to go through that, right?
Of course.
And so we get to focus on the leadership aspects of it. And so I know a lot of jobs don't do that, but the fact that you had that experience and what that built in you as a man, if we had more young boys working jobs like that,
Right.
I think it would change our culture.
I agree.
You know, sitting around doing nothing. It's sitting around doing only the things that makes you comfortable.
Literally.
Is not good for you.
Not at all. Not at all.
I mean, because here you are, this language barrier.
Right.
You know, here you are, whatever. Brookhill was uncomfortable. This job was uncomfortable.
Right.
Obviously, you got paid.
Right.
So that's comfortable.
Of course.
You know, but I think a lot of people live for comfort.
Definitely.
I don't want to do that.
No.
That's uncomfortable.
Right.
I mean, would you say that was a big part? You know?
I would agree. I remember that. I mean, I realized really quick that it was a tough job.
Yep.
And I realized very quick that it was not going to get really. It only get as better as I would make it better. I realized that, and then I realized that that's what I was going to do.
Right.
So then I stuck it out, and it got as much better as I would allow it to be.
Right.
And then, I mean, it wasn't comfortable at all. And those were the times that, like, we would have a packed house, and I'm trying to get an order out, and I just can't. I can't explain to the people who are making the food what.
I wish I could have been there for this. This is incredible.
And I mean, and then another aspect to it is like there's just a bunch of.
How did you get this job? That's what I want to know. What made you go the sushi place?
That's actually a really good question. That's a really good question. And I remember another part of this is the other aspect of the language barrier. There would be people who are just country as all get out. They come in, they want to try Japanese food for the first time, right? And they're like, "Man, can I get one of them sushi things?" And I'm like, "I got news for you, man. We got a whole menu of it.
We got 45 options here."
And then they're like, "I don't want any of that seaweed. I don't want this. I don't want that." And then I got to try to explain that. And then it was a whole thing.
The best thing I've ever heard.
It was a whole thing.
This is the best thing I've ever heard.
It really forged me in that way.
So what did you, after you did camp, again, obviously you transitioned out of the sushi world. What was your next job?
I worked at a convenience store in Natchitoches.
Okay. Like a gas station?
Yeah, it was like a drive-through kind of gas station thing. Okay. And about that job, I worked there for, it was from December. It was probably about 7 or 8 months.
Okay.
Because then I remember I stopped working there whenever I came to work all summer.
Okay.
Last year.
Okay.
And I mean, I was working there, and they had made a position for me. I had got in there because my parents were good friends with the people who owned it.
Okay.
And they had made this position for me to work there that had not really been a thing. And I remember I stepped into the role. I was the youngest person that worked there, which was pretty common for me. And I just remember that for the first probably 2 months, I was just solely focusing on like getting my work done and doing the job and getting like
your tasks, your lists,
acclimated to what I got to do every time I come in. And then I remember after I kind of got it under my belt, and it wasn't a crazy tough job. I mean, it's a very busy place. It was one of the more like busier spots in Natchitoches. And I remember after I'd really gotten that part, like the actual labor part of my job under my belt, I started connecting with the people I worked with.
Come on.
And I remember that like the managers there were younger. They were like college age.
Okay. And
I mean, I was a senior in high school, so it wasn't like they were thrilled to speak to me or anything like that. But I remember that it didn't matter to me because I remember that I was gonna let my work speak for itself, pretty much. And I remember that I worked there for a while, and when I came to work all summer here, the manager was very upset because they didn't want me to go.
Right.
And then when I left, I got word that they have the shift that I worked, and they printed out a laminated sheet with, it says, the Jett shift, and there's a list of all the stuff that I did during my shift, and it's on the wall in the back room. And now that they have a shift called the Jett shift there.
Come on.
It's real.
You have a shift.
It's real.
Named after you.
Yeah, the Jett shift, and it has all of the things that I would do in my shift.
Come on.
And it's for, like, because I pretty much, they made the position for me.
Right.
And then I made it.
You made it something. You made it a thing.
And now they're like, oh, we can't go without this position. We need. So they have this laminated thing.
I love that.
Yeah, I was like, dang.
Come on.
That was real. That was real. And I mean, I remember I worked hard there. I've worked, like, you gotta do the work.
Right.
I don't know. It's just that was always the focus for me. Like, I know next semester of college for me, I'm gonna go back to Lafayette and I'm gonna find a job. And I know that I'm gonna find a job. And I know that it's not gonna be difficult for me to work that job.
Sure.
I just know it won't be, because I know what to do and what not to do in the workplace.
Right.
Like, it's not. First of all, like, working retail, being a server, I mean, it doesn't take that much. A lot of people can do it, and
if they're willing to learn,
right?
You know, and I think the way that you've gotten to where you're at, though, Jett, is you're always willing to learn. I've never interacted with you that you're like, man, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, or you'd roll your eyes, or what. Right. I mean, you'd always just, all right, you've always been a sponge for knowledge, and I think everybody in our world today would get paid more if they would develop themselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whether it be through education, whether it be through getting some mentors in their life or whatever, you know, it's important. Whether it's just observing, okay, that's a good worker, I'm going to do what they're doing.
Right, right.
And make yourself better. You know, I mean, it's no different than someone in professional sports or whatever. When you make yourself better, you make yourself worth more.
Right.
Which is what you've done, you know, here through camp. And so, you know, you're going to go and apply that and probably become a manager, you know, at your age. I mean.
Right. With that being said, I remember before I left that last job, they were, and I was telling them
the Jett shift.
And I told them that I was coming here. I had to break the news to my manager because I knew that he was going to be upset.
Yeah. And
I broke the news, and I remember they were talking about, like, we're gonna make you a man, and I was younger than everybody else that worked there, but they were seriously considering upping my wages and making me in the manager position. And I had worked there, like, a lot of people came and went in that job because they could not handle whatever it may be, you know, and just staying there for 4 or 5 months and learning and like you said, absorbing everything I could.
Yep.
And that's also, like, very, very accurate to what I do in this job as well. It's like, I remember, like, this is one of the things I do is if I see someone doing it a better way, there's no reason to not reuse that.
Right.
Right? Like, I remember, I mean,
who have you looked up to? Who's somebody you've looked up to? You know, maybe former counselors you tried to emulate, or people you've worked with.
Right. I will say that, you know, a lot of people talk about being campers and talking about the one counselor that made them want to become a counselor, but I think the person who really made me want to become all summer is probably Callan Smith.
Callan Smith.
Yeah.
Come on.
He was a
what did he do in the Mavericks that you looked up to?
I just remember.
Can you define some of those things?
I remember he was, at the time, he had the biggest bunkhouse, but that did not matter. He had the most kids, but that did not matter. He was more connected with those kids than what seemed like anybody else on the hill. He was super intentional with them. It seemed like he would not miss a moment with them. And I remember it just felt like every camper wanted to be a Maverick. Like, and that was huge for me. I remember that even in the small things that he would do, I would just, like, take mental note. And I remember that. And I feel like I see this in like you and Jason and a lot of the other great men that lead this business, is like the consistency is so huge, and it's so refreshing because that's just not how it is in today's world.
Right.
It's just not. I saw the consistency in the way that Callan would handle every camper. I saw the consistency in the way that he would lead his JCs, and the consistency in his personality and the way that he would approach every conversation. And it was just so refreshing to see someone who was not only not scared to be who they are, but just being who they are all the time.
I think our world is starving for consistency.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we've done the Craig Rochelle quote that successful leaders do consistently what average leaders do occasionally. I think in my version of it, I just think in a world of inconsistency, consistency just stands out. It's like a neon sign that says, you know, we're different over here. That's the Chick-fil-A effect. They're so consistent. I mean, you can know if there's 80 cars in the drive-through.
Every location
all day long.
Yep.
And you can know that if you go get in line that you're going to get right through in 5 minutes. I mean, but that's consistency. And people want to work hard for a day. People want to have a good attitude for a few weeks.
Right.
You know, but that's emotion. And consistency is not. It's not birthed. It's not set in emotion.
Right.
It's set in commitment.
Yeah.
Here's in character. Here's who I am. Here's what I'm gonna do. And so I guess, you know, when you're looking at a Callan, here's a guy. Callan is super consistent. As an LC this summer, has he not been just the most consistent guy? That's his
ridiculously
legacy.
Consistent. Like, I mean, in ways that I could not even explain. Like and it's just like, regardless of the position he is in, he's going to adapt and do what he has to do.
Come on.
And he's going to always do it. So I just thought that was something I always looked up to. And that was really, like, he is one of the big reasons that I am here and I'm still here and I will be here next summer. You know, like, he is one of the reasons. He's definitely one of the biggest reasons. So
come on. I love that. What do you think Brookhill has shaped in you? You talked about work ethic, consistency from seeing that through Callan.
Right.
You know, what do you think you've learned? What were a couple of things that you've learned through being a counselor, like your leadership? I
will say that when it comes to leadership, and this is one thing, it's also just Brookhill thing that has, like, shaped my personality. Is I am infinitely more optimistic than I have ever been.
Interesting.
Just because people don't want to take orders or just even do what the Debbie Downer is telling you to do. You know, if you attitude is so huge, like you said, attitude is so huge. Like, I realized that you can't give the power to the negative. You just can't give power to negative things. There's no return in that. And I really remember that I mean, that's just really shaped my personality.
Man, I think negative wears you out.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it's so draining.
It's
obvious. When people are negative, when you're in a negative environment, and that's why the news is so difficult to listen to. It's like, come on, guys, somebody lead us in a positive direction.
Yes.
But everything is just so negative. It's so critical, and you know, and I'm seeing different leaders start to step up. Not so much in the political realm right now, but you know, in different places, and they're like, can we be positive? Can we be kind?
Right.
You know, can we be? You know, it's almost like the principles of the Bible work, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like there's a magnetism to a positive attitude, and I think that's probably also things that you had in those jobs. Just be fun.
Yeah.
Just have a positive attitude.
Yep.
You know,
it can be such a cancer to any environment.
Yeah.
Like, if you are, even if everybody's positive and you are the one negative person, it brings it down. Going to have a huge effect.
Right. People want to avoid that person.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think that's, you know, these counselors that you named. God, Keller was the most positive.
Smile all the time.
Yeah, Jansen.
Yes.
You
super smile all the time.
Yeah, super. Yeah,
definitely.
We supersized that smile right there.
For sure.
You know, but that positive attitude, if we could have more of that, and I think that's what Brookhill has, and if we can get people to just take that back to their schools and not just get overwhelmed with the negativity, and we got to have more of that. You know, in our world today, in the workplaces, blah, blah, blah.
Everywhere.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's where it's at.
I agree.
Man, I love that, dude. I love that.
It's huge. It's really changed. I mean, not like only the way that I carry myself, but just it changes your mindset.
Yep.
If you are intentionally thinking, like, there's no reason to dwell. If you really just think about what you got to give, what you're giving your thoughts, your time to, and if it's something that you don't have power over,
right,
cut it out. There's no reason to even.
It's good.
And that's huge here, being a counselor. That's huge. Yep. It's huge everywhere. Like you said, being in the workplace. I mean, you're not going to be able to control the way that this single coworker interacts with you. You're not going to be able to control that. I mean, you can try your best to shape that relationship and like I said, be positive, be optimistic, and that will rub off in some way.
Absolutely.
But you can't dwell on how problematic that is, or it'll just you'll be stuck.
Yep. What are your camp stories, Jett? Can you think of any camp stories as a camper, a counselor, man?
Camp stories.
You got any camp stories that you remember stand out to you?
I remember. It's really strange because I mean now the fact that the weeks that I've been at camp as a counselor just completely just multiplied the weeks I was ever here as a camper.
Okay.
I will say that I do remember my first year in the Morgans with
Tyler.
I remember we performed a haka. We did
what is this?
We did like it's like the All Blacks, the rugby team.
Okay.
They do that ceremonial dance.
Okay.
And I remember we did that in the Morgans. I think we might have did it for Morning Devos, but I feel like Tyler will deny that. But I feel like that is I remember specifically doing the haka as a camper.
Okay.
And it was so like out there.
Was it their warm-up ceremony? What was this for this rugby team?
Yeah,
That's how they warmed up.
Yeah, well, it was like, traditionally the haka is like something that they did like before a war, and it was like kind of an intimidation thing.
Okay.
So that's what I think it's New Zealand All Blacks is the name of the rugby team, and they do it right in front of their opponent right before they play, and it's really interesting.
Did y'all do that for guys' night or
we
what?
did it? I know we did it for guys' night too, but I feel like we might have did it in front of the whole camp.
They just stood out to you, and
that was really
a
fun.
moment.
I also remember. I'm trying to think. I remember that I just really never won guys' night as a camper. Never did. I think I might have won one time.
Okay.
But I remember when I was at JC and I got my first guys' night win.
That was huge.
Okay. And I really didn't even contribute to that at all, but it was still it was huge.
Right. You're like, I got a medal.
Right. Finally. Because I remember as a JC thinking I never won a guys' night. And it was crazy. But also, I mean, that just goes to show it's just something that it's just another camp thing. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But and with the guys' night thing, what I found, a lot of people have differing views on guys' night. Some people might think it's just a little too draining or whatever, but it's just so rewarding to be able to like congratulate these guy campers and their successes, because I mean you got to think, and we talk about this a lot, but I mean they're playing these baseball games, they're hitting their first home run, and there's no one there to congratulate them, and there's no one there to be like, I'm proud of you, and that means a lot to them. It really does, and it more than they will even ever show, because I remember whenever I was a camper and whenever I was successful in whatever it was I was doing, being recognized for that and just being spoken to in that way, it's very influencing, and it was huge for me. So being able to be there for those guys when they make that basketball shot, and win or lose, when they make that basketball shot, whenever they do good in ping pong, it's very rewarding.
Well, I think win or lose is so important because we're telling them, I'm on your sideline, and your value to me has nothing to do with how good you are or the result.
Of course.
Your value is because you're valuable.
Right.
because God created you, because you're on this earth, I value you. And I think everybody wants to know that someone values them.
Yep.
And I think that's the camp sauce. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I think that's the thing. That they want to know that someone is on their sideline, someone's in their corner, someone's cheering them on. And I think that's why guys' night is such a big deal.
It's huge.
Because I think for some guys, the only time people are on their sideline is if they're winning.
Right.
And if you start losing, you lose people off your sidelines.
Right.
And to have even people like the red T-shirts, on your sideline. I mean, I think that has to be huge. I think that's why guys' night is a big bonding time.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. It brings literally win or lose, it brings the cabin together so much. It brings these guys together so much because they're all like on the same page.
Yeah.
Regardless of what has happened before in that week, it is one one thing that they can all get on the same page and they all kind of fight for the same cause, and it brings them together a lot.
I love that.
It does. And it's just huge. I really like being able to do that, like being that side of a red T-shirt. It's huge, and it's something that is kind of like I remember it's not something you even really think too much about whenever you're a camper, but then just seeing it, like, for example, I remember whenever I was a camper and, after if we have like a cabin-wide prayer at night, I remember, the senior counselor was like, even on Monday, like even on the first night or on Tuesday night, they're like, I love you guys. Yeah. And as a camper, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I just met you, man.
Right.
But on the other side of it, it's real. Like, it's so real. Yep. Like, I mean, even if I might have just met them 12 hours ago, it's just the fact that I know that they were placed in my cabin for a specific reason.
Come on.
And I know that I am supposed to be there for them this week, and I know that regardless of what happens to them this week, I am going to do whatever I can in my power to make sure that they have, a great time and maybe even an encounter with the Lord, maybe for the first time.
Come on. And
that is just, I mean, that's huge, and I love them for that. I love that that they even, I tell all my bunkhouses that, and I even pray over it that they don't forget how blessed I am to be in this position, and that it's so important that I have the opportunity to hang out with them and talk to them and lead and like have the opportunity to lead them this week. I make sure that they don't forget that I don't take it for granted at all, and it's just it's huge being on that other side and being able to have that influence and be able to just. It's crazy seeing myself in this situation.
I love that.
I enjoy it a lot.
I love that. We talked about at the 2-week session church, we talked about, everyone goes through storms,
right?
And there's another side,
right?
The disciples left the bank, they went through a storm, and they got to the other side of the lake, right? And we talked about there's another side, man. I saw a lot of kids crying, man. Yes. We saw a lot of kids that kind of touched them.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of guys going through things, a lot of girls going through things. And so what would you say to a camper listening to this? Maybe they're going through something. There is another side to that. How do we encourage them? How do we help them to keep going? You know what I'm saying? How do we do that for this generation? If there's someone at home listening, you know what I'm saying, when this comes out.
Well, I would say definitely look for someone to be able to confide in, and it might not be in your home. It might not be. It could be a teacher. It could be a coach. It could be any sort of adult. But with that being said, if you feel like you cannot find that, I promise you it'll be in the Word. All you have to do is open it up.
Come on.
And even if you don't know what that looks like, just open it up and start reading. If you're not accustomed to reading the Bible, you can really grow your relationship with the Lord by just being vulnerable in prayer and really just talking to Him as you would. He wants to be your best friend, right? So confide in Him. You can tell Him anything, and He and just being able to have that person or have the Lord to talk to. It's just. It'll just reshape how you look at your situation in life. And knowing that you have the creator of the universe in your corner, like it's huge.
So
and
good.
It'll turn things around. And like I said, like I said about optimism, it will make you naturally more optimistic. You will look at life and you'll look at the blessings that you have, the giftings that the Lord has given you, and you will see the good more than you see the bad, regardless of your situation. So I would say, open up your Bible, and if like I said, you kind of struggle with getting into the Bible, find a good devotional.
Absolutely.
Get the Bible app, because they have everything. Like, there's a devotional for every sort of personality, whatever hobby you're interested in. They got a devotional. The Bible app has a lot of really good plans as well, and it can be like a little extra tool to hold you accountable, and you can just really get into it. So
yeah, man, don't go. I like what you're saying. Don't go at it alone. Talk to God, get in His Word, talk to somebody.
100%.
You can't go through your storm alone.
100%.
That's the one thing we looked at in this, in that story where the disciples, they weren't going alone at it. And so, man, it's so good. All right, final question. Final question right here. What has the legacy of Brookhill meant to you? What it has meant to Jett Steadman? Who do you think you are today because of Brookhill, and why?
Right. I would say the legacy at Brookhill has, I would say that without Brookhill, I know for a fact that I wouldn't have the relationship with the Lord that I have. I know that without Brookhill, I would probably be more inept to things like, depression, things like anxiety that will just really come into your life and just hold on to you, and you will be stuck for a long time. I would say that and now in the counselor position, we always talk about the baton getting passed and the real legacy, like how it travels. It's it's unbelievable. Like, I've been thinking about it a lot this summer, especially whenever we get to hear the alumni talk and they're telling their stories, and it's like, we have all this better stuff, but it's the same. It's the same. They have the same experiences we do. And they did it so that we could do it, and I'm doing it so that someone after me can do it. And
it's awesome.
We can't even grasp for a second the amount of people that these red T-shirts have influenced. Not even for a second, because, a camper comes to camp one time, and I don't know, they don't want to come back again, regardless. A seed was planted in them.
That's right.
Someone, a counselor or a JC was nice to them. They saw the Lord in that moment. They saw what it means to be a person who has their heart after the Lord. And even if they don't realize it, even if they're, young, going into the 4th grade, going into the 3rd grade, that is going to impact them, and they may share that with their sibling, and their sibling might share that with a friend, and they might share that with their parents, and that might make their parents have a change of heart. They might start going back to church. It's just,
come on,
you can't even. It's been crazy to me. I've thought about it a lot this summer. You cannot even. Well, there's no way we could ever put a number on it. And there's no way, and again, there's no way. There's people, and I've kind of started to see. I've been here a little bit long enough to where I've started to see a little bit of like the fruit of my labor. Like, I have some of these guys, like I talked about being a JC for so long. And like I said, these campers that I met 4 years ago, and they'll come up to me today and they're like, you're like someone who's super influential in my life. And how could I know? I was a JC. I was just I was just doing my job and doing it to the best of my ability, trying not to mess up or anything. And at that same time, I was influencing and shaping these young men's life, and it was just,
come on,
seeing the fruit of that shows and proves that, the amount of influence that comes out of here, and that these the red T-shirts hold strictly because of the people who have come before us.
Yep.
Literally, like we talk about it a lot. You put on the T-shirt, and it's nothing that you've done.
Right.
It's nothing that you deserve. You know, these campers look at you and they want to be friends with you. They want to be. They want to have conversations with you. They want to sit by you and learn from you strictly because of the T-shirt that you're wearing. And that is not anything that anybody who's wearing a red T-shirt now could have ever done. It's so much bigger than all of us, and it's just because of the legacy. It's because of people putting everything they have into it for so many summers now, and it's just built and built and built and built, and now, I mean, being in this position, you get to really see it firsthand, and it's just,
come on,
it's amazing.
So good, Jett. Man, I appreciate you, Jett.
I appreciate you having me.
Dude, I love your legacy, man. I love what you're doing in the Morgans.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. And obviously I love what you're doing even outside of here, building your own Brookhill, even at college.
Yes, sir.
Man, we got to get more men like the Jett Steadman.
Come on.
All right, buddy. Raging Cajuns.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, we'll see you later. Thanks, man.
Thank you.